It's Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. All right. What's up, humans? This is Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. So I just got back from vacation, and this is the first time I've said vacation with so much relaxation, because that's what this was. If you've ever been up north or anywhere north of Florida, really, into a cabin, we went to Boone, and it is just so relaxing. And one thing I realized too, there's never any airplanes flying by. So, in Florida, we've got so many airports, and you're constantly seeing jet streams and activity and being reminded of how many people there are in the world. And when you're in the mountains, all you see is these Blue Ridge, beautiful mountains. And so we were up in the Appalachians, and we saw lots of deer, and we saw groundhogs. So cool. A friend of mine saw a chipmunk, and we visited lots of vineyards as well. And it's been a minute since I've been up in the mountains. I think the last time I visited the mountains was the Rockies up in Colorado and Utah. And the Appalachians are just beautiful, so definitely, it wasn't super cool, I mean, it's still the summer everywhere. And but it wasn't as hot as Florida. And as soon as we drove back, we felt the temperature rising for show. And here we are. I was trying to get some errands done today, get some things done around the house. And sure enough, I step outside for a few minutes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I can't last outside longer than 30 seconds, I swear. But we had a great time. I was teaching a dance camp up there, and we got to stay in this beautiful custom-made cabin, and it was just greater than I expected it to be. We had to sleep in a room that had 6 bunk beds in it. And when someone tells you that, at first you kind of think of it like Little House on the Prairie, like there's going to be these stick bunk beds, almost like cots. But these were like custom made. They were like wider than normal twin size bed. And my husband and I each had one, which worked out because, honestly, it's like we have a big king bed, and, we'll split apart at night anyways. And I was sick the first 2 days. So I had got back from Vegas, and I knew it. I knew that this guy in the airplane was going to get me sick, or, I was just run down, whatever. But as soon as I get home, I have severe allergies. So my whole life growing up, really mostly, I noticed it when I moved to Florida. So I guess I'm just allergic to Florida. But since I was 7 years old, I started Claritin. And even when I did glamour shots as a kid, I remember my aunt was like, let's take you to glamour shots. And I'm like, okay. And my aunt was disappointed. The makeup artist was disappointed. They could not put makeup on my eyeballs because my eyes were so sensitive. And to this day, they are super sensitive. And it's also like kind of a mental thing, how like I have with my needles and things like that. It's like I know it's happening, and then the more I think about it happening, it's like the worse it becomes. And I don't know what that is, but even my mother was like, I mean, my eyes water, but yours are really bad. And it's embarrassing. Like I have to hide away for like a week. And typically my sickness will last about a week. This lasted, I got better, but it lasted about 5 days. And so my eyes swell up, and they get so swollen, and they just can't stop tearing. And it's like, I try not to wipe, but I'm just crying. But then like, even if you don't wipe, then the tears with the salt in them just sink into your skin. So like, I don't know what's better, like wiping away the salt or like letting it embed into your skin, And so my eyes got so red and so puffy, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be permanent damage. And like, I swear I have 2 new wrinkles I didn't have. And then like, just like above the ridge of my cheekbone, it's like super swollen. And, it's hard enough getting older, and then you go through a sickness like this, and then you're like, oh, great, that just aged me. It's like I'm the president. Like as soon as you become president, you just like age 10 years. And I'm like, gosh. But luckily, we took the first 2 days just to kind of like stay at the cabin. And then Monday when I started with the kids, I started feeling better. So luckily I wasn't, crying and blowing my nose constantly while I'm teaching these kids. And no, I did not have COVID. But if I get any kind of cold, these then all of a sudden these allergies, they just get 10 times worse. I mean, I've worn eye patches before. That's how bad it gets, guys. Like my eyes get swollen shut. I can't even open them. And people are like, why don't you put eye drops in your eyes? And I'm like, because it wouldn't do anything. Like the tears just keep producing, and it doesn't matter if my eyes are red or not. It's the inside, it's the nasal passage, it's this swelling and this. It's like someone has a feather permanently stuck in my nose and they're just like tickle, 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 and then I'm like, ugh, and then I feel it swelling up from the inside, and then it rushes out of my face. But it puts all this like pressure, like the sinus pressure, at the forefront of like my nose, like the bridge of my nose. And it's so miserable. My husband had some Benadryl, so he gave that to me. And he's like, I have never seen an allergy so bad. He's like, it looks like we need to take you to the hospital. Like you are actually allergic to something. I'm like, I think I'm just allergic to the world. Like, I don't even know. And I did get one of those tests before where they prick, like they put all the little pricks in your back and they test you for things. And it was like 4 different kinds of mold. And then like some, like, I think oak trees, like different kinds of plants. I'm one of those kids too. Like if I would run in the grass, then my legs would get all itchy from the grass, things like that. So I know that I have basic allergies like that, but this is just another beast. I actually had a guy I was dating a long time ago, kind of dating, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're feeling like crap. He's like, I'm going to pick you up and let's take you to the beach. Like, cause he wanted me to get like fresh air. And I like legitimately had a patch over my eye. I'm like, I do not want you to see me like this. And he's like, I don't care. And I'm like, how sweet. If a guy or my husband can like me with, my patchy eyes and my swollen face, then I have done something right in this world. And I forgot the Dayquil, which sucked. So I only had the NyQuil, which knocked me out and was wonderful. But it cracks me up because there's no melatonin in it. Like I looked and I was like, there's got to be melatonin in this, right? And then I'm like, well, no, I guess it just knocks you out because it's 10% alcohol. And I'm like, well, if that's the reason, I'm like, why don't they go more natural? Since we know melatonin works, it definitely works for me. And then why is it though that the Dayquil tastes 10 times worse than the NyQuil does? Like they both taste gross, but like I tried to look up on the bottom, like what is different? Like did they purposefully put this? Did they choose this flavor? Because it is disgusting. Like I looked on the back of the bottom, like is it the xanthan gum? Nope. Is it the saccharin? No, because that's supposed to sweeten it. So I'm like, I can't figure it out. And it's like one spot just says flavor. And I'm like, what flavor is that? Like, what effing nasty ass Jaeger flavor is this that you chose for me to drink in the morning? And it's just the worst. It's so hard to get that flavor out. Like, actually, there are times that I've had the Dayquil and then I will have like a shot of milk after it because it's the only thing that like gets rid of that whole gross flavor in your mouth. Anyways, so not a big fan of the Dayquil, but happy to be better now. My voice is still a little bit raspy, and that's also just from like talking all week and having some wine in the mountains and things like that. But lots of wineries, Grandfather Mountain, just really cool places out there. And luckily, this is very rare. I'm always like the planner, and this is the first time I've ever been on a trip where somebody else knew where to go, and they're like, and then we're gonna go here, and I'm like, what is this like? Like this is super cool. Like people like don't really thank me for doing that, but like it really helps like move the trip along, and you're not just wasting time going, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I hate when people are indecisive, and it was so lovely to have someone else be like, and then we're going to go here. And I'm like, that is awesome. And then I literally could relax and I didn't have to think about anything except for my job, what I was there for that week. Doing these kind of camps are so rewarding. I've always said this before, but we did some Broadway-style dancing, and the kids just had such a great time. So we did partake in a lot of the wineries, so we had lots of white and red wines. I'm more of a red drinker than a white drinker. And we also got this whiskey, a bourbon whiskey called the Burning Chair, which is 88 proof. And we got to grab a bottle at the ABC store right as we were leaving because we didn't realize the stores up there, I mean, they close so early. So one of the stores we were like, oh yeah, we'll just go after dinner. And they're like, they close at 8 p.m. We're like, God dang it. And it was a weekend too. But on the way out, we caught one that was open on the way out at 9 a.m., which most of them don't open until 10. And we grabbed a bottle. So I'm super excited to share that with a select few friends, and enjoy that and just make it last as long as possible. But easily one of our most favorite bourbon whiskeys that we've ever purchased. And your cocktail of the day is the Rusty Nail, served in an old-fashioned glass. This can be on the rocks, neat, or up, but is most commonly served over ice. This takes 1.5 ounces of Scotch whiskey and 3/4 ounces of Drambuie. Garnished with a lemon twist. I was also treated to some really good coffee in Boone, North Carolina, which also seems like a very rich area. It seems like there are very wealthy people here, and it's a town that like everybody knows everybody kind of a thing. But they had this one place called the Local Lion, and man, every morning there would just be cars wrapped around, like even on, like parked on the side of the road just to get in there. And they ground their own beans, and they have these really good donuts, like maple donuts and lavender donuts and fun things like that. They're not like, super coated with like, shove an Oreo cookie on the top of it, kind of a thing, but just like really good flavors. And that's really what it's all about. And then this other place called Stick Boy, and they're a bread company, and they also had really unique flavors. And I think some of them I was just happened to be there for because they were like, this is a summer flavor. And it had this like, they put like a dehydrated orange in it with these orange and herbal flavors in it. And it was so good. And of course I'm on vacation. Like I don't normally put sugar in my coffee, but I'm like, man, let's try out these flavors. And, I don't have to add any sugar. They just kind of, do what they do there. And I just want to try it the way that they make it. But that was a lovely treat. I'm also jealous of the houses that are in North Carolina, not just the beautiful custom built cabins that people have out there, but man, they must all hire lawn people because just the whole area, it was like they keep up with the lawn, and you can see, and they also have these like huge, they're like for rent, and it's like these, giant, lawn mowers. But I'm sure they just have services that do it because these people own acres and acres of land. So we saw lots of cows and ponies and goats and lambs and all kinds of things. We didn't see any like big elk or anything, but we did have a family of deer in the morning, and we got some great video of just these cute little speckled babies, and they were just running around, like when your dog gets excited and runs in circles, and then they were like kind of kipping, and they were just so adorable to watch in the mornings. But I was really excited to see the groundhogs because we do not see those here in Florida. They ain't got nowhere to dig here in Florida. They'll hit water. But the houses are just so beautiful, and it's just so much better real estate. As a realtor, you only get the house. That's it. The heated house. Up north, you get a basement, you get the house, and you get an attic. You basically get 3 spaces for the cost of one, and it's comparable in pricing, the same, and I know that location, but these people have so much land and so much space, and I was just so jealous of it. My house has like no storage in it whatsoever. Like just no storage. There's not even like a pantry in my house. I'm like, what in the world? Like I had to buy a standalone pantry for my food in my house in Orlando. And, I just like laugh because, you go up north and you get these solid, beautiful houses made of brick and, stone and, the basements and all the stuff. And then you come to the hurricane capital of the world and they build your house out of sticks. I'm like, did you not listen to the 3 Little Pigs growing up? Like, did you not pay attention, people? Like, I know Florida education's bad, but, we know the little pigs, what happens, okay? Like, legitimately, our houses are made of crap, and then with the cost of lumber and people just producing trees that haven't been around for years, so they're not as solid of wood, and, and just even the nails are shorter. They're not like the big, thick industrial nails anymore. It's, we're just throwing them up there, and then one hurricane comes through, and it's like, it doesn't even have to be a strong hurricane. It could just be a storm. I had a stick that went, fell off my oak tree the other day and went right through our patio canvas. So we had to buy and replace a new and get a new top for it. And it's just annoying. It's like constant debris in this town, and it's just very frustrating. We don't have the space. We don't even get to, because most people in Florida use their garages as storage. We don't even get to put our cars in the garage half the time, which is where they need to be during a hurricane. Just saying. But 3 Little Pigs, people. 3 Little Pigs. We need to start building our houses better and make sure that they are block and, solid wood and made of brick and just better. We keep just throwing things up so quickly and you know, because of the timing and all of this. But man, we just don't have the quality. Like my husband posted a video of, and I've seen it before, but you know, it's like those old commercials and they're like, and this is the brand new Frigidaire. And they're showing you this fridge. And at first you're kind of looking at it like, oh, that looks old fashioned. And then she opens it up and you're like, wow, look at all those compartments. Oh, look at this. And I'm like, God, that fridge is probably solid, will last forever. I'm like, and it probably doesn't mess up like the new ones do. Like we have a side by side that messed up that we ended up throwing in the garage as an extra one. And like the ice machines don't work right and they'll freeze over. And then like your food that's in the fridge side will end up freezing because it's like too close to the freezer. You know, it's like it can't differentiate like the temperature and it doesn't regulate properly. And these things end up breaking all the time. My mom got a brand new, huge, gorgeous, oh my gosh, you're like, wow, look at this KitchenAid. And she's only had it for 3 years and it's already messed up. Like the whole ice thing like melted, was messing up her floors. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, these companies need to, you know, take note from, you know, the old school mechanics of things and build things the way that they used to. And we need to stop with this planned obsolescence stuff. I'm over it. I'm over it. So on the 9-hour drive back from North Carolina, we did stop at Buc-ee's. It was Damon's first Buc-ee's experience, and the actual mascot was there, so I forced him to take an obligatory photo. And then we got some beef jerky because and I couldn't believe I got there and there was no line. I'm like, there's always a line every time I come in here. And he grabbed a few little snacks. We got some chocolate covered espresso beans and just some little Buc-ee's treats. And we even got some new, because my husband is a child and he likes to drink out of plastic cups. So I can't have anything that's adult in my house, I swear. Like, you know, he's one of those nerds. So when he moved in, I had to find a place for his, you know, lightsaber, and it has been Star Wars-ified amongst other characters and 3D printing spaces, things like that, which he does have a business. So if you want to go to Nomad 3D Creations, he does make awesome Thor magnet hammers, and they're super cute, and he hand makes them. Well, I mean, he uses a 3D printer, and then he hand paints them, and then adds and, you know, glues on like the leather band that goes around it and stuff. So if you're looking for a stocking stuffer for this holiday season, Nomad 3D Creations. But they're so cute, and he does make some cool stuff with it. So I'm like, all right, fine. And I slowly had to get rid. It used to be a spare bedroom, and I had all of this beach-themed stuff in there. And I today was cleaning because, you know, when you're gone for a week, the house kind of settles. And we had my mom taking care of the kittens while we were away, and I was so excited to see them. And they were, I think, you know, in their own way. The cats don't act like dogs. They don't like run up to you and wag their tails or like make lots of noise, but in their own way, they showed how much they missed us, and got lots of snuggles last night when we came home, and it was just so sweet. So we had just a lot of cleaning up to do, and I'm one of those people, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I have to unpack as soon as I get home. Like, it stresses me out to know, one, that I have dirty clothes in my bag, and just that it's there, and I'm like, just do it. Like, I know it's been a long journey, just get it done, because then once I get it done, take a shower, I can sit on the couch and relax, you know? And so I did that. I got it done right away. Like, even like, you know, everyone's got a friend that like still lives in their boxes kind of, you know, or like you help a friend move, they pay you in pizza or beer or whatever. And then, you know, you kind of expect like, oh, I'll be invited to a housewarming. And then finally you go to their house after 4 months and they're still in boxes. And you're like, why are you still in boxes? You know? So I am not a hoarder. I am an unpacker right away kind of a person. I want to get everything organized. And especially, I mean, like when I moved into my house, I cleaned it first. I cleaned it head to toe before I moved anything into the house. Because trying to clean after you do that is impossible, really. I mean, it's really hard. You can't get in those nooks and crannies. So I just needed to do that anyways. And so I started like shifting things around. And I'm one of those people that like I can't focus on myself and on like the projects that make me happy and the things that I want to do until the clutter is like away. And, you know, I told my husband today because he likes to buy stuff on Amazon and he likes to have every trinket and every gadget. And I'm like, you know, every time we have a garage sale. Every time I get rid of something, you buy something to replace it. I'm like, our house is not that big. I'm like, I need to declutter. So I was like, are there any more clothes we can get rid of? He's like, well, I'm going to lose the weight again. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'm just saying, you got a lot of clothes that don't fit you. So I'm like, and I do too. That happens to me. I'm like, I got a few dresses, and I'm like, I'm actually trying to pass them down to other girlfriends of mine, daughters now, and things like that. I'm like, you want these? Because and even I'm too old to be wearing certain things anymore. I'm like, I'm not going to be walking around in that tight dress as much as I would love to. I'm like, it's just not going to happen. And so there's just things I'm trying to get rid of. And, everybody's got somebody in their family, whether it's their husband or their uncle who's like a hoarder, or they're that person that they're driving down the street and they're like, oh, look at that trash. I could build it. I could turn it into something. I could paint it. I could create something out of it. And then they get it and they put it in the truck or the back of the trunk. They bring it to the house. Inevitably, they try to hide it because it's one of 10 things they picked up on the road that week. And then they never do it. That's why they become hoarding people. Because I'm like, look, I'm all about it. If you can, turn a trash into a treasure, go for it. You can make it useful and there's space for it, first of all. You can't just collect things unless you are building a shop and you are going to turn around and sell it and make a profit. You can't just collect things if there's nowhere for them to go. We would all have 12 houses then. Or if you're one of those people that gets bored, then you need to find new ways to redesign your house every few years, and do that so that you don't get bored. But if there's nowhere to put it, then there's nowhere to put it. So there's no point in you having it. Let someone else who really needs it pick up that trash and turn it into a treasure, But some people, like my father, will collect things. He is actually a wood builder. He builds things. He's incredible. He's a carpenter. But then they just sit there and he's like, well, eventually I'm going to do something. 10 years will go by. Well, don't throw that away. I'm like, if you haven't done something with it, same thing with my shoes. If I haven't worn these shoes in 5 years, am I really going to wear them? Probably not. Taking the time to acknowledge and then get rid of it. I always try to tell myself, someone else will get a better use out of this and we can pass it on. That's kind of what I did today. I shifted things around and got rid of the decorations that used to be the bedroom that was a beach theme. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll put some of these things in a box for, if we move and there's a new house that we go to, or if we have a garage sale, I can sell these things, stuff like that. So I've been cleaning all day today, and then it still looks like I've done nothing, which I hate that. You've been cleaning all day, you're exhausted, your husband comes home, and it's like, I know it looks like I did nothing, but I did 5 loads of laundry, put everything away, made the bed, mopped the floors, did all these things and organized. But then from, when everything's shoved away in a closet, it looks like you didn't do anything. So it's you kind of feel like you have to say it out loud. I did this. I know it doesn't seem like I did, but I totally did, which is what my husband does. Anytime he does something, he's like, did you notice? I cleaned today. And I'm like, let me throw you a parade, honey. Let me throw you that parade. Or I'll just do it. I wonder if he even noticed. But lots of work today. And then we've got some floorboards. We've got wood floors around in the whole house. And I thought I remembered that we had some spare flooring up in the attic from when I first moved into the house. And I'm like, lo and behold, I pull down the attic stairs. And it's always scary in Florida. First of all, it's 105 degrees out. And I'm like, great, now I gotta go in the attic. And I found boxes and boxes and boxes of flooring. And I'm like, yes. And we have an area that was peed on by my cat. And you know how cat pee is. It's impossible. So I'm hoping that we can wrench out those floorboards and then replace them. And hopefully it won't be a difficult project. I don't know how to do it, but it's, that kind of that thin floorboard. And it kind of jigsaw puzzles together. So hopefully we can figure that out and replace them. But it's good to know that we've got some extra flooring in there from the previous owners. So hey, maybe we'll get some new flooring. And if it works out, we can find some more spots to replace. But my cat, she's an indoor-outdoor kitten. And I don't know if I had told that story before, but, I think I did talk about my cats in one of the first episodes. But she will not go in the litter box. And I've tried, locking her in the room with it and she just will pee right next to it. And I'm like, oh my God. So we had to make her indoor-outdoor cat. But sometimes we don't catch her in time if we're not awake. and then she's like, I couldn't hold it, and then she has to go. And I've tried pee pads, but unlike a dog, she's just not attracted to them. So I'll put it in the spots that she would normally go, but she won't go in it. So, and cats are sprayers too. They don't they don't all squat, they just stick their tail up and then they spray like on the side of the wall or something like that. And so it can be worse. And then the ammonia, it's so bad. But I love my kitties, even though, she's getting older too. And those are the sacrifices we make, even with old cats. Sometimes they won't go in the litter box anymore. Or you gotta get one of those lower litter boxes so they don't have to jump into it as much. So now, on the way home, I was listening to a new musical that I had not heard of before because I'm going to be doing it for another high school that I'll be working with for their high school musical. And we kind of went back and forth with different musicals. And then we saw that Beyoncé came out with her new album. And I was like, let's listen to that. Let's check it out. She said it's kind of like a dance album, so maybe it'll be different than her last one, which was a little bit unique and different. And so we take the time to listen to it, and I don't even care if I get any kind of flack for saying this, but it was awful. I was like, what is wrong with what is going on today? Like, I am so tired of the vulgar language and the innuendo. Like, they're not even like clever innuendos anymore. It's like on the nose. She said cunt. She said, stick it. Like, just all of these dirty words. So if that's what you're into and that's what you want to hear all the time, like, I thought this was going to be, and she, it's like they're claiming it's, female empowerment, self-empowerment. And I'm like, but is it? I'm like, I don't understand like this, genre that we're in right now. And I think she had a couple of guest rappers, but it's kind of like she was just copying what all of those other female rappers are doing right now. And I'm like, that's not what I want to hear. And I guess she had like a permission or whatever, with Donna Summer's music, and she's already passed. And Donna Summer, before she passed, had said, how much she loved Beyonce, and, and I'm like, but she probably wouldn't like what she's putting out today. I'm like, you have this gorgeous voice. Like, and I'm fine if you want to tone it down, because if you're going to do a tour and you're going to be like singing belty songs all the time, I imagine that could get extremely exhausting. And Beyonce's a great performer, and she's going to dance, and she's going to put herself out there and give it her all. And so maybe she doesn't want to do anything so crazy vocally, but still like stay true to yourself. And I'm not sure that this is her. I mean, it doesn't feel like it is. It doesn't feel like I'm a survivor, like the girl that I knew. And I know that was Destiny's Child, but I guess I just want words that, if they're going to be female empowerment, then say something. It's like she just shouted random vulgar words throughout the entire thing with some like beats in the background. There was one or two songs, and they all blend together. So it's not like the song starts and stops. It's not like they just all roll together. And so I guess it was the last two songs, I guess I would have to say, are my favorite of all of them. Like, if I was at a club, I guess I could be like, okay, that's all right. But like this cunty, these words, I mean, I would not want my children listening to this. I would not. There are albums that you can't wait. I can't wait to have kids to show them this album and be like, oh, you got to listen to the Beatles album. You got to listen to Journey and Aerosmith and this Michael Jackson album and Janet's and the stuff I grew up with, Christina and Britney. And, I can't wait to let you listen to the NSYNC Christmas album and, the Eagles and, Incubus and stuff that people wrote about, like the great lyrics of our generations. And then this, no, like, just no. Like, I'm kind of exhausted with today's music, just quite frankly. And it seems like nowadays, like, especially with TikTok and social media, like, anybody could become famous, especially rappers. It's like, I could just look around the room right now and be like, Jiffy, I like Jiffy peanut butter. Oh, got that trophy on the wall. Oh, got that pussy in the, and they're just saying anything. Light bulbs, look at that light bulb, look at that fan and the microphone. And they're just saying anything and kind of putting it to a beat. And, I miss having bands, and I miss, hearing, people had to go into a studio and they had to actually play the instruments, and now it's all digitized and overproduced, in my opinion. And today I was listening to, 90s music, and I was listening to like One Sweet Day with Mariah Carey when she really used to use her voice, and the Boys to Men, and just the beauty of the lyrics, and, David Foster and Catherine McPhee, and just like the music that they produce, Elton John, Uptown Girl. Like, where is this music? Where is it? It's gone. It's like, I don't know. The only person that I think is worth a crap right now is Bruno Mars. I mean, he's still putting out great stuff, and I don't know. I'm hoping that there's going to be an artist that comes out that really, brings it back and talks about things that matter, and it isn't expecting their audience to just interpret something that isn't really there. I feel like Beyonce's like, this is about like just the club, and a girl can do whatever she wants, and it's female empowerment. I'm like, is that what you got from this? That's not really what I'm getting from this. So I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, and honestly, it's not something I would ever listen to again. Like, I was like, and I'm done with that. The end. I used to want to listen to albums on repeat, and it just wasn't for me. So maybe it's for somebody out there, and I know it makes me sound like a stuffy white girl, like some old lady, but that's how it made me feel. I was like, this is too much, like, I'm down to have a good time. And, every once in a while throwing some innuendos in there. And I'm like, yeah, coach, I get it. I know what that's all about, and sometimes you get in that mood, and, I get it, but this just was not it for me. And I, my husband and I were talking about that too. Like, kids are dancing to things that they don't even realize what they mean. And I'm not saying that like we didn't dance to that stuff either, but even like Britney and Christina stuff was kind of tame. Even Dirty was tame compared to this stuff. I'm like, I mean, it was very obvious innuendos, but like, at least like it wasn't just like sit on it, turn it, sit on it, turn around and stick it in, bend over. Like, it's just too on the nose for me. But in watching all of those old school 90s videos, I'm like, man, they just cut away so quick. It makes it like you don't notice the mess ups. Like, I'm starting to like see it more. Also, Kevin from Backstreet Boys was easily the hottest one. But at the time, I was so young. I was like way younger than they were even. And so I always liked Nick Carter, but he was easily the hottest one. Now as a grown woman, I'm like, oh yeah, he was way hotter. Like, how did I not notice him as much, but it's just funny because you notice like more of like, oh, they weren't actually in the correct formation, and they weren't together on that one move, and a lot of the videos are so cheesy to look back at now. I still love all of Christina Aguilera's stuff. I'm like, she was a solid dancer and a solid performer and vocalist. So she's one of those people. It's like, don't meet your, celebrity stars, don't meet your hero type things. Cause I'm like, I would have to, like, I don't do this, and it's not something that I normally do. Like, people always get like the picture with a celebrity, but with her, I would probably have to run up to her and be like, I am so sorry. You're the one person that if I ever said I'd meet you, I'd have to be like, hi, and introduce myself and just tell you how amazing you are, and then take a picture or something. But I'm older, but I still want to like make an album or like a single. Like, I still want to do this. I still want to get like my dancer friends together and pay them. And I want to like choreograph something. And then I just want to be like Sia and like cover my face, because I'm not going to do all the Botox. Sorry. So I just need to like hide the fact that I'm older and just like dance it out and make a music video. Like, I still just want to do this. Like, I just want to live out the dream. And nowadays with like the iPhones, like I could totally do this. Like, I already made my infertility parodies, which are on my YouTube channel on Katie Rose Straight Up with a Twist, if you haven't seen them. And like, those are decent, like whatever. And this is just for me anyways. If I want to live out my dream of being a pop star, which in a way, I kind of did this with my infertility videos, then I should do this. And I did write a song a long time ago, and I still remember how it goes, but I don't know how to like actually produce it. Like I don't play instruments or anything, and I don't know how to do the music stuff. So I would need somebody to do that. Maybe I should pay somebody to do that. Anyone out there? I'll give you some monies. Obviously I can't, I am not rich, but like I'll pay somebody to do it. And then help me live out my dream, and I'll hire my friends to back up dance for me. Hey, maybe I'll do this, guys. Maybe I will do this. I'm just going to be like, I'm doing it. I'm going to have my one single and just live out my dream, since I was never the next Britney Spears or Christina like I wanted to be. Anyways, I hope that we can procure and find, these next generation pop stars that, and I'm not saying to copy the 90s, but I would like to see that triple threat, that singer, dancer, actor, performer. I want to see, or, instrumentalist, whatever. Like, I just want to see more of that. And I know that they're out there, because every time I get on TikTok, I'm always like, wow, like there are so many, like, back in the day, it's like you only saw what they showed you on TV. And if you were lucky enough to, meet with the right producers and get yourself noticed, it was, a big thing. And now everybody's on TV. Everybody is in the palm of your hand. So I'm looking for those people out there so that I can celebrate them and buy their albums and, imitate their dance moves. That's what I'm looking for. But for now, I'm going to head out. I'm so happy to be home. I'm going to snuggle up with my kittens tonight. I'm going to enjoy this awesome whiskey that I got. And my husband was so sweet. He doesn't drink wine, but he did buy me a bottle to say happy closing and, great show, great camp kind of a thing. And that was very awesome. And the people that hosted us and invited me on this trip were absolutely fantastic hosts. And little do they know how wonderful it was for me, since I am always the obsessive compulsive planner. And it was just so nice that they took the reins and were like, we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And I'm like, this is great. So it really was a treat for me. And I'm so happy I wasn't sick the whole week. Feeling much better. I'm sure you can hear a little bit of a gargle, but I'm doing my thing. I'm taking all the pills and the allergy medicines, and I'll be on the mend here. I'll be starting to add some guests into my show soon. Had some people reach out that would like to talk about some things, and it's always easier to have a back and forth conversation than to just talk by yourself. So I invite it. I can't wait to have people on my show and on my podcast. And thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, this has been Katie Rose, served straight up with a twist. Hey guys, here's your real estate tip for the day. Now, when preparing to sell your home, it's not as quick as calling an agent and listing your home. There should be some prep that goes into it. Depending on the condition of your home, you want to first make sure it's priced correctly, because the last thing you want is to overprice your home and then have to drop the price online, making your home appear undesirable. While staging your home is an expense, it can garner a nice return on your investment. Most homeowners see a 5% return on their 1% investment. I think that's worth it. But before you even consider that option, the smell of a home is one of the most overlooked reasons as to why buyers turn their nose the other direction. There are some great ozone odor removal services and natural eco-friendly cleanup services that you should consider using before listing. You may think, why would I clean someplace I'm moving out of? But it could be the difference between a quick sale or one that lowers the price of the home. Yes, cookies in the oven or a nice scented candle can do the trick for the moment, but if you're in a market like you are in today, you could have a rotating door of viewings, and who's going to want to stand there and bake cookies all day? Old, dirty carpet? Replace it or get it professionally cleaned. You'll make the money back in the sale of the home. If you have a funky color of paint on your walls or an interesting wallpaper, consider changing to a neutral theme so that the buyers can imagine their design in the home. But most of all, check your air vents. Make sure they're replaced and clean. The AC should be cold and free-flowing and not causing humidity in the home. Simply put, your home should have an inviting smell. Thanks for listening, and if you're in the market, drop me an email at katierose@topagencyrealty.com. I work behind the scenes while you take the stage. Catch my follow-up Fridays on YouTube, where I respond to your YouTube comments on any thoughts or questions relating to each week's episode. It gives you a chance to have a more intimate conversation with me and opens up the door to new topics. Find me at my YouTube channel, Katie Rose, straight up with a twist. And remember, if you're thinking it, I'm probably talking about it.